On today's Locked On Twins, the Twins have announced a new broadcast team, a new set of broadcasters to join Corey Provis on TV. Also, Blake Snell open to taking a shorter deal. Does that make sense for the Twins? We'll discuss all that and much more. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up? What's happening? It's Locked On Twins coming at you again. I'm your host, Brendan Warren, and you can unfollow me on Twitter at Brendan_WARNE. And across the screen, it's good, it's great, it's grand. It's Mr. Dave Brown at Answer Dave Brown on the tweets. How are we doing?
We're doing good, Brandon. I need to ask the fans out there what their favorite decongestant is, because the one I have is not working. My ears are full of something.
Well, if you're in the chat on YouTube, please feel free not only to click subscribe, click a thumbs up, or if you're like FTL Nova Kid, leave a thumbs up in the comments. Leave a message for Dave on what he should be taking, whether it's NyQuil, DayQuil, mixing the two. I don't know. I don't recommend anything like that, but I am no expert. So if there's an expert is there a doctor in the house? You remember like the old cartoons where they'd say that? And they'd always stop.
I'll take any suggestions. It's fine.
Yeah.
Mix whatever you got.
At this point, it maybe you need some like cod liver oil, again, like the old cartoons. But thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free, and you can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. We love doing the YouTube thing and love hanging out with you. So, again, thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Also, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Dave, Twins announce a whole bunch of moves to their broadcast team. You know what? I want to go down the road first, though. You had mentioned we were kind of doing a little pre-show text back and forth on, and these are all your ideas today. You're kind of driving the show, but your kind of, I think, first bullet point was that Blake Snell appears to be amenable to a shorter term deal with opt-outs, and you said to me that you feel like that would actually be something the Twins should consider.
Well, I don't get the feeling they're about to spend $25 or $30 million on somebody for a season. But if it would keep him off the Tigers or off some other American League opponent, and it might give them that number 2 starter that everybody has been kind of clamoring for. He is a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. I know what the arguments and the concerns are against Snell, but I think he's been successful enough and recently enough that a short-term deal, kind of like the one that Bellinger signed. It's funny to me that he would be reduced to that, having won the Cy Young again twice.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are, and I think it's money, but it's not a long commitment. And I've been getting this feeling that maybe the Tigers are going to be the team. Maybe the Sons of Illich will, kind of jump up and spend some cash there. And they're sort of kind of a hot team, maybe on the come in the AL Central. I don't know. But it seems like the kind of thing that would help them. And I think it would help the Twins, too. I think it would be a good move.
Not him signing with the Tigers, you mean? No.
Yeah, them signing him instead of the Tigers signing him.
Yeah, it would kind of help you twofold, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think he should be an Oriole because I really think that would be a great fit. I think the Angels make some sense, although I feel like his elbow would just explode the second he walks to the door because that's what happens there. And with that said, too, yeah, I'm not opposed to the Twins going after him. And obviously Pablo Lopez and um, Blake Snell would be an incredible 1-2 punch, however you lay it out. Because honestly, you could justify calling either one the 1 or the 2. Obviously, like an opening day thing would be Pablo, just probably out of a loyalty deal. But that as a 1-2 followed by Ryan Ober Paddock, I mean, that's a really, really good rotation. However, I can't get past the walks. I don't know. You'd think I should have a lot of love for a lefty who throws the crap out of the ball, can hit 96, 97 when he needs to. And at the same time, and it makes no sense, but I liked Carlos Rodon coming into free agency more than I feel like I like Blake Snell right now. And maybe it was just because of his age. But again, Rodon, way more injury prone, as we saw this last year. I don't know. I don't know why I can't get as excited for him as I got for Rodon.
I don't know. There's kind of it's sort of like a common what's the term I'm looking for? There's this vibe about Snell that it just suggests that people don't think he's real. That there's like he's a pumpkin. He's a carriage about to turn into a pumpkin, or the the road is short for him being a very good pitcher. He does walk too many. He doesn't go terribly deep into games. People, incessantly make fun of him for that, being a 5 inning guy. And he is kind of the poster child for that kind of starting pitcher. But, I think there's just kind of this anti-Snell consensus out there, not like a huge conspiracy theory, but I just think people have kind of convinced themselves in a mass hysteria kind of way that he's not any good. And it's not true. I mean, there are better pitchers, but he's what is available right now, and he is affordable in the sense that he's willing to. He's seeing that the teams in the major leagues aren't going to meet his long-term price. So it's I think this is like an opportunity knocking for the Twins to kind of sneak up on everybody and make a surprise big move that would. You mentioned what the rotation would look like with him in it. It would be pretty formidable. And I don't think, there are other options out there still in free agency, like Jordan Montgomery, but Jordan Montgomery hasn't indicated that he's willing to take a shorter deal. He wants $100 million plus. He wants a 5-year, 6-year contract. Snell can be had for less than that. So go get Snell.
If you're Jordan Montgomery, are you kind of ticked off that Snell is he's basically shorting the pitcher market? And with Montgomery, it's like this is his chance to cash in. He's not particularly young, whereas Snell, if he takes a 1-year deal, he can hit the free agent market again, and there's a pretty good chance he'll hit that ramp. And who knows, maybe he can get someone to finally give him a long-term deal. But if I'm Montgomery, I'm kind of like, what the heck, man?
I hadn't thought of that, but that's a good point. And it kind of reminds me vaguely of what Drysdale and Koufax did, holding out for a contract. This is before the union became real in baseball, with the Dodgers in the 60s. And they kind of, used themselves as sort of a mini union and, held out together. And, that bond helped get them more dollars than they otherwise would have. And yeah, it's kind of the converse of that, where Montgomery is a little bit. He's 31, I think, and this is his time. And there really isn't a good. There's no real good reason that I can think of for either of those guys. Bellinger is a different case because he 2 years ago he had been injured for a couple years with a mysterious shoulder arm injury that was really affecting his performance. And then last year we had him kind of get back some of that performance, but he the underlying statistics on how hard he was hitting the ball were troubling. So we got all these smarty pantses in the front offices who see that stuff now. It's not just nerds like us in our basement, which I literally am now, pointing that stuff out. And there's no such caveats with Montgomery and Snell. Montgomery maybe you could say maybe last year was a career year, And there were a couple teams that let him go, I think, kind of foolishly for less than he was worth. But he's been sort of proving that he's worth the big contract. And the Yankees kind of messed up by letting him go, and the Cardinals kind of messed up by letting him go. And maybe there's also some kind of anti-Jordan Montgomery conspiracy out there about, well, he's not that good. But we complain all the time about how, and we do it with Snell, even though he doesn't go that many innings. But we complain all the time about how there aren't any starting pitchers, and there's too much relief pitching. And when are we going to get a good starting pitcher in here? And it's not like it used to be. And then here we have a couple of guys like that who are really good starting pitchers, and the teams aren't willing to pay them. And the more I think about it, the more I agree with you that Snell should hold the line a little bit and show some unanimity with Montgomery and the other free agents and get their cash.
Yeah, a little solidarity. Let's take a quick second, talk about game time when we come back. I just thought of something about Snell that might actually not be the worst possible thing if you're the Twins. But again, a word from Game Time. If you're looking for tickets like the Timberwolves game tonight that they just played and won over the Grizzlies, easiest way to get to Target Center is Game Time, the Game Time app. If you're looking for tickets, whether it's last minute or ahead of time, this is the place to go. If it's last minute, though, you've got a lot of advantages. You don't have to pay the fees at the end of the transaction. Everything that you see up front is what it's going to cost. You can see where you're going to sit and the view that you'll have. So there's no surprises when you get to the venue and no surprises when you hit purchase, because again, you pay the price up front that it shows you. The low price guarantee too is great. It's called the Game Time guarantee, and it means you'll always get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you not only the difference, but 110% of the difference. And it's sports, it's theater tickets, it's shows, like a comedy show like I like to go to. Any of that you can find in your local market. It could not be easier. Download the Game Time app. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, Dave, you did get me thinking here a little bit about the idea that Snell is kind of a five and dive guy. With this Twins bullpen, that could be a really lethal combination.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's sort of why that's one of the reasons why that he's like that. He's been on teams that have had good relief pitchers, and he's kind of the poster child, the model for what pitchers have become. But it's not an issue with the deep pen that the Twins have at all. And if you look at, I mean, he's a little lacking in innings, but he's not that different from a lot of other pitchers. And if he's going to give you 5 or 6 at the most good innings, that's what you need these days anyway. And the Twins have one of the 2 or 3 best bullpens in the league. So to me, they complement each other pretty well. It's a good position. That's a selling point for me that the Twins probably could, you're going to win some games here, buddy, because we got your back.
Squirt gun to your head, though. Who signs Blake Snell and who signs Jordan Montgomery?
I think Snell, you mentioned the team. I said the Tigers, but you said, who'd you say?
Angels and the Orioles.
Yeah, I think the Orioles will. I suspect the Orioles are going to make a move there, and I think Montgomery will sign with the Red Sox. I don't know why, but I've heard that that's a possibility. I think that's where he'll go.
Yeah, it sounds like that is in the cards, pun intended, I guess, since that's
the Cards should sign Jordan Montgomery and get over their mistake from a couple years ago. Absolutely,
run it all the way back. Twins announce the Bally Sports North finale tour. What'd you call it? Farewell tour. Like Derek
Oh,
Jeter
who
had,
knows with the opt-outs? Maybe there'll be another 1-year deal after this.
yeah, maybe some deferred money. I'm sure Twins fans would love that. Really go with the Dodgers model. But Twins, with their knock on wood swan song with Bally Sports, all games will be broadcast this year on television. It's the 7th time in franchise history. 159 will be on Bally Sports North, 2 on Apple TV, 1 on Fox, and then some simulcasts or simultaneous broadcasts between Bally Sports and either Fox Sports 1 or TBS. Let me just make sure I got my math here correctly. 8 national games. April 22 against the White Sox, April 29 against the White Sox, May 17 against the Guardians, June 4 against the Yankees, June 7 against the Pirates, July 13 against the Giants, August 15 against the defending champion Texas Rangers, and August 19th against the Padres. Dave, something that stands out to me, 7 of those 8 are on the road, and it's the last 7. So you can't even say whether they're going to play their first one on April 22nd at home against the White Sox.
Yeah, you mentioned the White Sox twice. Is that like guaranteed win night? Is that why they're doing the White Sox and that?
It's actually White Sox back to back. A week later, it's Monday night and Monday night. So like a home and home, but instead of it being back to back nights, it's a week apart.
It's not very creative schedule making, but the Twins will be on national TV enough when they're in the playoffs, so I'm not worried about that. But Bally Sports is that they do a fine job in Minnesota with the Twins. It's a good broadcast, although it's going to be different. No more Dick Bremer and Corey Provis has like 25 guys, you said, in the booth. I think Dr. Joyce Brothers among them.
Yep.
As analysts, and I don't think it's a 3-person booth ever, but it'll be like or maybe it will be, but it seems like they're going to rotate. Justin Morneau, maybe the big guy, and then a bunch of other people too.
I think Plouffe jumped in there every now and then as the third guy. One thing I don't like about the national broadcast schedule, and it has nothing to do with the Twins necessarily, I'm just tired of seeing every Sunday night Yankees Red Sox. I know it's not every Sunday night, but I feel like if Commissioner Rob Manfred had interest in actually growing the game, he would maybe not a uniform policy, but like a minimum of every team should have a minimum of X number of national games every year. Like there's no reason you can't see Royals Rockies, just some random Royals Rockies game when they play each other. Why isn't that on national TV? That's a way for fans to have, they could have seen Charlie Blackmon while he was at his best because he kind of played in relative anonymity, or, really, really drive home that Bobby Witt Jr. is one of the brightest stars in the game coming up. And instead, we're subjected to 2 thoroughly mediocre Yankee and Red Sox teams. The Yankees are good, but they're not Yankee good. And the Red Sox, who knows? But I'm tired of seeing them or the Dodgers and Giants. Again, I have no argument that these are some of the best rivalries in the sport. But there was a concept in wrestling back in the day, and it was Hulk Hogan would have limited schedules when he was in WCW. And what they said was, you have to make them miss you. You have to make them wonder where you are. They have, less is more. You appreciate something more the less you have of it. And I think you can find a sweet spot where Yankees Red Sox games, they feel like 2004 again because you get less of them. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Scarcity, like in baseball cards, or first run TV shows that are off for a couple of weeks and then they come back. Yeah, it's I get where you're coming from on that.
Or Max Headroom getting on the television in Chicago back in the 80s.
That's true.
That's
that
creepy,
was
dude.
Original viral marketing of the time, I think.
That's so creepy. I go back and watch it every now and then on YouTube if I really need a good chill to go up.
Are the Twins going to add Max Headroom to the broadcast booth? Because I think they can fit one more person in there.
I think they're actually opting to go max footroom on the team's charter plane instead. So it's a give and take. But I'm sorry, that was terrible.
Well, I can transition out of it if you want.
Please do.
So we said Denard Span is. Did we? Did we say Denard Span?
Yeah, he's actually married to a lovely lady from Minnesota, Annie. I think her name was Annie Schlepper, and I believe not Schlepper, like bringing her kids to school in a van, but like that's her last name. I believe she was an athlete, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know why St. Cloud State's coming to mind, but anyway, yeah, he's got some still remaining Minnesota ties, and I think he actually dabbled a little bit when the Twins were in Tampa last year. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I know they had Paul Molitor in the radio booth. He's going to do some games this year. He is absolutely tremendous, by the way. You and I both agree and think the world of Paul Molitor. But yeah, it is going to be kind of like the rotating band of guys through the press box with Corey Provis. It might be difficult for a first-year TV broadcaster to kind of find a rhythm. I mean, he's done TV with college sports, so he's obviously good at it, but I don't know. It could be tough.
You, you kind of mentioned it before, and we talked about the lack of spring training games that Valley Sports is doing.
Right.
Practice for better, maybe that's kind of a demeaning term, but getting into a rhythm, it would help. I think if Corey had a consistent partner, or maybe two.
Yeah.
I don't know about 7. I'm not against Denard Span or anybody else in the booth. It's such a hard job to do well, especially on TV, to know when to stop talking, for example.
Right.
Something that maybe you and I could probably learn from.
Probably won't.
It's difficult. It's a difficult job. You can't. It's almost like they're saying, "Hey, you guys all speak well and you're smart and you're baseball players. You could be broadcasters." And it doesn't really work that way. I think it's a mistake on the part of Valley Sports to have so few broadcasts, and I think it's a mistake to have so many broadcasters in the booth with Provis. It's not, like you said, I don't think it's doing him any favors. I don't think it does the audience any favors. I'm not sure why they're doing it like this. I suspect they can't get one guy to commit to an entire season, which is understandable because it's a drag.
They'd want more, but he's got like 20 young children at his house, so
Right.
he wants to spend time with them. Apparently,
I don't blame him for that for one bit, but at the same time, I think all the different broadcasters kind of distracts from the product a little bit and the kind of broadcast that you put on. Other than that, I think Valley Sports does a good job. But I think these are mistakes that, the Twins broadcast won't be as good as it could be for those reasons.
it reminded me of something from 10 years ago on Adult Swim, and it was too many cooks. And then I went back and watched that today, and man, 2014 was a different time, wasn't it? Let's take a quick second. We'll talk about FanDuel, and then when we come back, I kind of want to talk about how it actually might be a little bit or even a lot of bit sad to not have Dick Bramer on the call this season. But again, first, a word from FanDuel. If you're like Anthony Edwards, you can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers are getting $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 basically free in free play if your first bet wins. And you have all sorts of options, whether you want to bet on your favorite NBA teams and players with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props. I say this every single time. There are just so many options. I can't begin to tell you all of them. You're just going to have to run to the app and find it for yourself. But again, if you're a new customer, you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's an absolute no-brainer of an idea. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel is an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, coming down the home stretch here, Dave, and I was watching some highlights, and I don't even know that they were. Oh, it was a Byron Buxton walk-off homer from a few years ago, and it was off. It might have been the Jorge Lopez one, but I remember thinking, "Wow, we're not going to get these anymore with Dick Bramer." It's kind of a a harsh left turn. And again, I have all the respect in the world for Corey Provis. I freaking love Corey Provis. I think Chris Atterbury, who is taking over on the radio side, does a tremendous job. But man, what an icon, what a legend. I'm going to miss Dick Bramer, who actually lives in the same town as me, I might add.
Does he really?
Yep.
You run into him at the store and stuff?
Meat market sometimes. And during the winter, he grows the most wonderful beard. He'll show it on Twitter every once in a while, but I've seen him at Timberwolves games too, and the beard it's almost like jarring because he's always so clean shaven during the season.
Right.
And then he'll wear a flannel and it looks like he's been out sawing logs for the last 50 years.
I know what you're saying because, in a few years after Corey's been the guy, we'll be like, what will we do without Corey?
Yep.
But now that Bramer's gone, I mean, nobody makes you feel more nostalgic for your team than your hometown, than the main announcer guy. He's the constant. The players.
But he's also taking over for the second icon. I don't know if you know or remember this, but he took over for John Gordon. John Gordon was a big dang deal. He was in Little Big League as Wally Holland. They didn't let him use his real name, but and he took over for Herb Carneal. They worked together. So it's been a succession, and Corey has taken over for not one legend, but now a second one. Godspeed, Corey Provis. We're rooting for you, but that's tough.
It's big shoes to fill. But I know what you're saying. Bramer is synonymous with Twins baseball, just like other hometown announcers are with their team. So it's going to be tough. And I think one of the reasons that it's tough without him, because I think there are going to be lots of iconic moments this year. I think this is going to be a great, memorable season for the Twins. That's going to, as good as some of the things that happened last year were, this is going to lap it. It's going to leave it in the dust. It's going to be an amazing season. And, Corey's going to get a chance to put his mark on it. But it is nice. It would have been nice to have Bramer to go out with a season like I think is coming.
Yeah. He's also worked with legends, by the way, Corey Provis, working with star of Mr. Belvedere, Bob Uecker. I mean, What more could you ask? But you know what? I also should probably list the 6 analysts who are going to rotate. Justin Morneau, Roy Smalley, LaTroy Hawkins, Glenn Perkins, Trevor Plouffe, and Denard Span. Not exactly unfamiliar faces. Audra Martin and Katie Storm will be doing the sideline stuff. Anthony LaPanta, or as I call him, Tony LaPanter, will be on post-game and pre-game with Tim Laudner of 1987 Twins World Series fame. So a lot of familiarity, but a lot of a big loss. It's so unique because they're staying internal, but it's such a big loss, and yet it's going to be comfortable at the same time. It's like when it's so warm, you almost feel like you're cold, or vice versa. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure about that. All I know is I would like to see
in 2020 that happened where when we were all stuck at home, there'd be times where 40 degrees because it was March here, obviously. Yeah. You'd be like, oh, it's kind of warm. And then you'd be sitting around all summer long. It'd be 70 degrees. And it's like, I got to go put a jacket on. Your brain just started playing tricks on you because you weren't going into the office every day.
Well, if they're going to put, not that I'm changing the subject or pivoting back, but
no, please do.
If they're going to put an entire starting lineup in the booth with Corey, I would like to see a platoon with Tim Laudner where Jeff Reed does some games and
Sal Butera.
Maybe Sal Butera. Maybe get a third string catcher in there too.
Junior Ortiz maybe he could do the Spanish language with Alfonso Hernandez and Tony Oliva. They're doing 50 games this year too, I should add, on the radio.
Why aren't you marketing for this team? These are great ideas.
Honestly, I don't think they want anything to do with me. I'm kind of a schmuck.
I mean, maybe that's smart, but just on the face of it, I like your angle.
Hey, Matt Brash is going to maybe miss the season for Seattle. Think there's any Justin Topa regret there?
That's the second time you've mentioned something like, wow, that's a good point, Brandon. Why wouldn't somebody want you on their team when you're making all these good points?
I'm not a team player. I'm kind of a turd.
I thought I didn't think of that exactly, but that is a good point, and it just the Twins. The Mariners they probably have a little more depth, not than the Twins, but where it's not the end of the world if Brash isn't there. But you're right, having traded Topa and now not having Brash is going to be tough for them. If the Twins were to sustain a loss like that, I think anyway, they would be covered. You get any more than that, and the depth starts hurting a little bit. But yeah, really, it's they. It was probably a good thing that the Twins got Topa when they did.
Yeah, another reliever that Seattle has moved on from, and actually dealing with a tough situation. Eric Swanson's young son Toby was hit by a car, and the reason this is near and dear to me, besides the fact that a kid is hurt, and it's we're all worried. His wife was in the same grade as my brother at Roseau High School, and I actually was the student aide for her gym class. So I know Madison a fair amount, not a lot. And so, again, it just really hits home being from Roseau, where she's from. And I believe they may even be building a house up there to live in the off season. So, yeah, our thoughts and prayers are out to you, Toby Swanson, Eric, and Madison. And we're hoping everything comes out real well, because this is scary stuff.
I saw some better news on that today. They weren't very specific, but I think the immediate danger has passed, and it's just a nightmare. Your kid getting hit by a 4-year-old, getting hit by a car. That's just the almost the epitome of a parent's worst nightmare. That's what you fear the most.
Well, hey, Dave, thank you so much for hanging out. I think we might actually finish on time tonight. Thanks to everyone, too, for hanging out on YouTube or podcast apps, whatever you're doing. Like, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Twins. And we'll see you tomorrow night.